Okay, this is Tony Phillips here. I'd like to talk to you a bit more about my book, Alexander's Run, and the trailer that they made to go with it. Okay, the trailer should be on YouTube right now. If it's not, it shortly will be. Now, should have posted a link to it down in the comments. Okay, I'd like to talk to you about the things that they got right and the things that they got maybe not so right about my book. Now, part of this, in fact, embarrassingly, in large part, it's about the information I gave them. I wrote a short script for what the trailer should be like, and I think I did a pretty good job on the whole. Although I did mention at one point that Alex is supposed to wear a actually a red plaid lumberjacket most of the time. The problem is I didn't know exactly what a lumberjacket is, literally speaking. I was thinking it was just a plaid shirt like the kind you sometimes see lumberjacks wearing, stereotypically perhaps. So they actually have him in a literal lumberjacket. At least I think that's pretty much what it is, and it's plaid, but it's not red, and it's more like a coat. More something like that they actual lumberjacks might actually wear in the wintertime when they're doing work in the wintertime to keep them warm. And it looks, from the looks of this video, it kind of looks like it takes place probably in more of a northern climate where he would more naturally wear something like that. Actually, it takes place mostly, I think, late summer, early fall. I'm kind of thinking that. On the East Coast, the ozone layers have depleted by that time, so it's probably going to be a little hotter, if anything, at the time this story takes place. If it did take place a little closer to the north, maybe he would be wearing a lumberjacket outside where he's running, perhaps. So anyway, I don't have any real issues with how he's dressed, but I just wanted to make that clear that I thought of him more in a plaid shirt. Sometimes he might be also dressed on perhaps certain scenes in a short sleeve shirt, possibly near the end, although I do describe him as still having that lumberjacket, or actually plaid shirt on some of the time. So yeah. Okay, so basically the kid that they got to play Alex looks pretty much like how I envisioned him. They did a pretty good job of finding the right sort of kid. I wouldn't say exactly that they hit the nail on the head as far as Alex's appearance, but they do come pretty close. I think I would have drawn him a little bit differently. I think you might possibly have seen the sketch that I made of Alex, the main character. This kid looks a little bit different than that, but not too much. I'm kind of a sticker for detail, so I had that on my mind, but they did a very good job. They did a very good job on him. I think that the scene where he is actually infusing Factor is probably one of the best in the trailer. I think I gave them a few scenes that show videos on YouTube that actually show self-infusions. Some people with hemophilia demonstrate to other people who are unfamiliar with that and interested or need to know, or other hemophiliacs, the proper way to infuse Factor. And I think from what I told them and the information I gave them, they did a very good job on that particular scene. I think another good detail that I mentioned to them that they got pretty much right was the fact that the actual vials of Factor do not look like that they have come from an actual medical company. Someplace like whatever company it is that manufactures a type of clotting agent called monoclate P, I believe it is, okay? Somebody with hemophilia could explain more what that exactly is, perhaps. Anyway, the generic kind of typewritten labels on them, I think, are a good touch, because this is what is known in the story at the fictional time this takes place as bootleg factor because it literally comes off of a black market and is super expensive and hard to get. I'm kind of thinking about some of the details that I have had in this future world, and one of them might very well be that they've gone back to type, partly anyway, because there are definitely still computers around, but the new government has pretty much in control of what internet there is left. That was knocked out back during the wars. There are still computers and word processors, but this looks kind of like more of a typewritten font, kind of like you see on possibly some of the old word processors, possibly also some of the original old typewriters that they had, at least from the 50s through the 80s at least. So anyway, I think they did a very good job on that. They show him mixing the factor and the water. I think that part looked really cool. He is supposed to be in the actual scene. I think there is a bit of difference there in the actual scene where that takes place. He has gotten up in a bathrobe or PJs near the beginning of the story. He's in that scenario, at least I pictured him to be in the kitchen at his grandfather's house. However, he's still wearing the lumberjack that he would later on while he's running. He probably would not be dressed in that or even the plaid shirt at that particular instance, if that makes sense. My book has a few other incidents where he is able to acquire clotting agent, and he infuses at certain points, which I think are pretty good. I think I was very accurate in describing that. People who deal with hemophilia on a day-to-day basis, I think they will notice that I got everything pretty much right, if I would say so myself. Okay, what else? Okay, they have some shots of the land, which I think, and the ocean. I told them the ocean shots really don't fit that much. It kind of makes me think of the sunken city of New York, and I think in this version, I've actually had several different drafts of this actually over the years, but the fact that the oceans have risen along the coast, and most of New York is now underwater, by the way, okay, because of the melting ice caps at this time. Although I don't really, if I mention that at all in this, I don't think I go into detail. If I want to write a sequel or another story set in this world, might go into detail about New York. I did have a draft where I kind of did. Okay, back to the story. I think they have some certain detailed shots, but not a lot of detail, if you know what I mean. Some close-ups of some stiffs that they're going to use for organ transplantation. Victims of the state, people, and possibly mostly kids who have chronic disorders who have been terminated or euthanized by the state. Pretty horrifying thought. Also, there is some photography that suggests the end of the great wars that happened. There were resource wars over the last remaining resources, energy sources, food, water, things like that wiped out a lot of humanity in this story. They actually filmed this somewhere in Argentina, which I'm not familiar with. I think the final shot has mostly what I think of as a lot of the landscapes in this world, I think, are best represented by the final shot in this video, where you see him running past some what are definitely old ruins. Look like possibly bombed out buildings or eroded buildings, or once part of a great city in pre-cataclysmic times. Okay, also I think probably the best thing about this video, what I liked the best, was the actor that they had to play the bad guy. As I told them, that guy just hits it right on the spot, and the photography and everything during that scene it captures it, what I already had in my imagination, pretty much vividly. Now, technically in that particular scene, I think the guy was actually bare-chested, so it doesn't actually capture what is in the book exactly, but it's, you know, it could have been done that way. It could have been written that way. It just, for me, it just hits everything home. The guy looks exactly like, I didn't have a real sharp picture, but this guy pretty much crystallized it, just everything about him. He's so good that I would say he's almost scary to me. And the uniform he's wearing, if you want to call it a uniform, I'm not sure I'd call it that, but I had kind of a vague idea of what it would look like, and it does look like that. Whether he would be actually wearing it right then or not, I think they did a very good job. Okay. The details of that actual scene, I think the part where you actually see the kids screaming, I thought that was a little bit out of character for Alex at that time. I think an earlier scene where you see him thrown into a cell, and some scenes in the book before that when he is captured, when they interrogate him, there are parts where I think he would scream. Obviously the kid's going to be terrified. At that scene with the bad guy that they showed, which is, I'll say very like a scene that I wrote in my script and happens, it's kind of toward the climactic showdown between the good guy and the bad guy. I think when they show that, Alex would probably have been wrung dry by that time. He would just stare the guy down stoically, which is what I actually have him do. Okay, and well, there's something else just a bit after that that isn't quite the way it was in the book, but I will probably give away some of what is going on in the book if I get into that. So, okay, so I think I've covered pretty much what I like about the atmosphere of that scene is great too. Okay, the scene with the bad guy. They actually had they gave me 3 choices for the bad guy. I wasn't really sure because actually all of them look very good. They all look very good. I think the guy they did go with would probably be the best. He just, you know, the other guys might have been, were a little bit younger than him. I'm not sure about the age difference there exactly, whether he would be maybe just a bit older or a bit younger than he is, but still this is the guy they should have gone with. Okay, so, you know, the uniform determination mount, I think was all very, very well done. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the trailer itself. I'm probably going to be making more videos which might relate to this, also writing about it. So I hope you'll give me your own feedback about this video and hopefully the story, you know, and if it looks intriguing, and just your opinion about what you think about a type of story like that, dystopian story where the people who are running the Logan's Run type, the runners, I think they called it in the novel Logan's Run by William F. Nolan, them being chronically disordered. What do you think about that? Especially if you know me and other stuff, you know me or the other stuff that I have written. Okay, so make comments down there. Please make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. I'm just starting out. I need your support. I need your support for publicity of this book. I need your support and I am interested in the feedback of just what you think about this. This story has been in my head longer than I care to think about now. It's, you know, the basic story anyway. And I have written other stories about the same character or a similar character to Alex in the modern world. Now, maybe make another video about that sometime. So, okay, that's it for right now. Signing off, I am the Tony Viewer.